The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly. Friedrich Nietzsche. From school debates to endless social media battles, modern life seems obsessed with arguing. We're told that to reason is noble, that to persuade is the mark of intelligence, that to win an argument is to demonstrate strength. But Friedrich Nietzsche didn't buy any of it. To him, the very impulse to argue was often a confession, not of superiority, but of insecurity. Arguing, Nietzsche believed, is what the weak do when they lack the power to act. It is the tool of those who cannot command and who seek instead to convince. It is a symptom of a culture that prizes consensus over truth, noise over action. When a higher type of human appears, they do not explain, beg, or debate, they embody. They radiate power, they act. And those who cannot match their will fall back on words. In this video, we explore why Nietzsche saw argument as the weapon of the powerless, and how in a world addicted to discourse, the truly strong speak through their being, not their rebuttals. To Nietzsche, the compulsion to argue arises from an inner lack. When a person is grounded in truth and strength, they don't feel the need to convert others, they simply are. But those who argue often seek something else: validation, reassurance, or the illusion of superiority. Their words become armor for a hollow self. Nietzsche saw this everywhere, in priests defending moral codes, in academics hiding behind abstraction, in politicians spinning illusions. The argument becomes a performance, not a search for truth, but a contest of egos. And what's worse, both sides are usually chained by the same shared weakness, the belief that truth needs defending. The strong, Nietzsche claimed, do not argue because they do not need to. Their lives, their choices, their very presence commands a kind of unspoken authority. They do not persuade, they influence. They do not debate, they demonstrate. And they don't waste time fighting shadows. They outgrow them. In On the Genealogy of Morality, Nietzsche draws a sharp distinction between master morality and slave morality. Master morality is the morality of action, of creation, of those who define values from within. Slave morality is reactive, defined in opposition to others. It moralizes strength as evil and weakness as virtue. Arguing, Nietzsche believed, is the slave's weapon. Lacking the power to change the world through action, the slave instead attacks the values of the powerful, using moral outrage, passive aggression, and intellectual games. He doesn't build, he critiques. He doesn't command, he complains. His goal is not truth, but moral victory. In this sense, the argument becomes a disguise for impotence. It is easier to debate the powerful than to become powerful. Easier to deconstruct than to construct. But for Nietzsche, the truly sovereign individual, the master, doesn't engage with the weak on their terms. He creates his own table, and he does not apologize for eating alone. Behind every compulsive debater, Nietzsche believed, lurks a fragile ego. Arguing often has less to do with ideas than with identity. When a person clings to being right, it's rarely about the argument itself. It's about defending their sense of self. The loss of an argument feels like the loss of worth. This is why Nietzsche distrusted the moralists and intellectuals of his time. He saw in them not clarity, but vanity. Men hiding their weakness behind complex reasoning, using words as a smokescreen for spiritual poverty. Their knowledge did not transform them. It protected them. The overman, the higher individual in Nietzsche's thought, does not need to be right. He doesn't fear disagreement because his identity isn't built on consensus. He commands because he is whole, not because he is loud. He understands that the need to be agreed with is a form of dependence, and dependence is weakness. Central to Nietzsche's philosophy is the idea of the Übermensch, the overman. This figure doesn't waste breath trying to change minds. He is not a teacher, but a living question mark. His strength does not lie in arguments, but in example. His actions, not his words, are his philosophy. The overman speaks a different language, not the language of persuasion, but of power, not the rhetoric of equality, but of authenticity. He embodies values instead of preaching them, and in doing so, he destabilizes others, not by attacking them, but by standing apart. The world looks at the overman with suspicion, often with hatred, because he does not need it. He is untamed, unpredictable, and undebatable. He does not ask for permission, And in his silence, he is louder than any speech. Modern culture mistakes noise for strength. Online platforms, political debates, and ideological warfare reward those who shout the loudest. But Nietzsche saw this as a symptom of decline. When a culture begins to value noise over substance, it is already sick. True command is quiet. It doesn't beg to be heard, it simply is, and the world must adjust around it. To command is to speak with your life, not your mouth. It is to make choices that reshape reality instead of yelling at it. This, Nietzsche believed, was the path of the strong. Arguing is an attempt to pull others into your frame. Command is the ability to create a frame so powerful that others step into it without resistance. One tries to win minds, the other reshapes them without permission. Disengaging from argument isn't apathy, it's strength. It requires immense courage to walk away from the noise, to stop defending oneself, to live without applause. The man who argues needs agreement. The man who commands does not. He knows that real authority is not granted, it is taken. Nietzsche understood that this path is lonely. The one who commands will often be misunderstood, even hated. But he must walk that path anyway, because obedience to the self is more sacred than acceptance by the herd. And the voice that doesn't scream is the one that echoes longest. To command instead of argue is to live as if your truth doesn't need validation. It's to trust your inner law more than external approval. And that, to Nietzsche, is what separates the herd from the creator. Friedrich Nietzsche didn't reject reason, but he rejected its abuse. To him, endless argument was not a sign of depth, but a distraction from becoming. Those who argue seek to convince others. Those who command seek to become themselves. One needs approval, the other needs only truth. In a world addicted to talking, to debating, to winning, Nietzsche challenges us to ask, why do I need to be agreed with? If your life is your argument, then silence is your strength. You don't need to explain your path, you only need to walk it. So the next time you're tempted to argue, remember, the strongest voices are often the ones that never raise. Thanks for watching.